Welcome back to County Connection. For our final segment of this November episode, we're going to be talking about the county's efforts to combat noxious weeds. And here to tell us all about it is Ben Pleimann, who's the manager of our Summit County Weed Control Department. Welcome, Ben.
Thank you, Julie.
All right, Ben, so you recently wrapped up, looks like it's next period here at the high school. You recently wrapped up the 2019 season of weed control. How did it go this year?
It was a good year. We were fully staffed. The weather cooperated, and we were able to manage the weeds, get 2 treatments on all of our properties, and we got the work done. Successful summer.
Okay, great. So can you tell us a little bit about the mission of your department and the importance of the work that you do to our landscape here in Summit County?
Yeah, our main thing that we do is we treat noxious weeds. Noxious weeds are non-native, very invasive plants that if you leave them unchecked will move in, create a monoculture, and mess with the native ecosystem. So we try and keep them in check from taking over the native plants. We also do a little bit of education, just trying to get the word out what they are, how you can treat them. We have a backpack loaner program where we'll loan out a backpack sprayer so that you could treat your own weeds. We've got a cost share program that the county will reimburse some money if you have someone else do the work or purchase equipment. So we really just try and get the weeds managed and help get private landowners involved as well to keep the plants in check.
Great. And can you talk about some of the impacts that, as you mentioned, if left unchecked, these non-native species, what impacts do they have on the environment when they're out competing our native species?
One plant in particular, the spotted knapweed, and there's also diffuse knapweed, but in Montana, those 2 plants have moved in into elk habitat, and where those plants have moved in, they've seen a large reduction in the amount of elk that forage in that area. So sometimes it displaces wildlife as well as native plants. So you'll see monocultures of just either chamomile or oxeye daisy, where it's just the diversity goes away, and some plants, some animals just don't deal with that, and we lose that diversity in the native ecosystem.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so really important work. So you have a number of partnerships that with other agencies to work on this mission. Can you talk a little bit about those partnerships here in Summit County?
Certainly. We do work for CDOT. We work with the National Forest. We work with the town of Silverthorne, Dillon, Frisco. We do the wastewater treatment plants. We do work on all the county properties, like the landfill, the county roads, open spaces, rec paths.
So you're covering a lot of miles out there.
We do cover a lot of miles, yes.
All right. So let's talk about one project in particular. So this was funded by a grant from the National Forest Foundation.
Correct.
And so what went on with that in 2019?
Yeah, so we got a grant from them through the Ski Conservation Fund. It was funded by Vail Resorts. So we thank you, Vail Resorts and the National Forest Foundation, for this grant. But what it is kind of a boots on the ground, getting work done. So up in the Gold Hill area, there's a number of clear cuts that the Forest Service had done a few years ago, and
for beetle kill and wildfire defense?
I believe that's what originally those cut areas were for. Mm-hmm. And with the Forest Service, working with them and the National Forest Foundation, we identified that area as elk range, and we wanted to get into those areas before the invasive plants had a chance to take over. So this is the 2nd year we've worked on that site, and we're seeing good success. Last year we spent about 125 hours on the ground treating the weeds, and we treated just over 2 acres. And this year we spent about 175 hours on the same area, and we only treated just under 2 acres. So it took us a lot longer to find. We were really looking around every bush, every stump, everywhere we could look to treat those weeds. So we did see a reduction from last year.
Great.
The plants were smaller, there was less of them, and we plan on doing at least one more year in that area.
Okay, great.
So.
And what kinds of species were you seeing back in 2018 that were problematic?
So we have seen the big two are the Canadian thistle and the scentless chamomile.
Okay.
Those are the main two that are in there. We do have a few bull thistle and plumeless thistle, which we don't have a lot of in the county. So for us, those are ones that we're really searching out the areas that we found them to try and eliminate them completely. So we mapped the area both times that we treated, and where we found weeds, we mapped their locations so that we knew in certain areas what we were looking for. So that was very helpful, and just a couple of those plants, the bull or the plumeless this year. So pretty
Awesome.
happy with that. That's not taken over.
Great. Well, great work on your part.
Thank you. It's the guys, it's the crew. They're the best. They're the best.
Can you talk a little bit about the funding mechanism that makes this grant possible?
Just a little bit. I don't know the details of that, but I do know that Vail Resorts and their guests fund this particular grant, and it's for projects. There was another business in the county that also got a grant this year through them, and they spent the time mapping different areas on the National Forest so that they can give that information to either the U.S. Forest Service or to us, and then we can go in and treat those weeds in the future. So the funding is for work done on the National Forest where there's tangible results, and we could see specific results from that work.
Okay. And so these Vail Resorts guests opt in through their ski lift tickets or their lodging, just kind of one by one to create this fund to do this good work?
Maybe. And I can't speak to that. I'm not exactly sure how it's funded, but those are probably good ways to do it.
Okay, great. And it's really great to see that the immediate impact of those funds, of those contributions here on our landscape in Summit County.
Yeah, and we've got some photos, and they might be popping up on the screen here, but in those areas what we're seeing is the native plants are booming. The wildflowers are popping.
Oh, that's so great.
The little pines are coming back up, and the area is not just sticks laying on the ground. It's really coming back in its native, in a native manner. It's not, yeah, it's looking good.
Awesome. All right, well, that's super exciting to see that progress out there, and that there are plans to continue doing that good work into the future.
Yes.
All right. Anything you'd like to add about the weed control program here in Summit County, Ben?
If you need help managing your noxious weeds, give us a call. Our number is 970-668-4218, and we can help you identify plants, get rid of the noxious weeds. We're not on a dandelion hunt,
right,
but if it is a non-native invasive plant, we will try and help you out best we can.
All right, fantastic. Well, thanks so much for coming into the studio today, Ben.
All right, thank you. It's my pleasure.
And thanks to those of you who have joined us for another episode of County Connection. We'll look forward to seeing you next month.